No, just get before we start. You can hear it happening. All right, sorry.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you all can hear me down there. First of all, to say thanks very much for coming. Just going to do some housekeeping matters. Our fire exits. There are two main exits, one at the front door and two at the door straight out the back. There are two main exits. The other thing I want to say to you is that there's a bit of a water issue in the building. We notified us yesterday that because of an issue with Irish water, there wouldn't be water available in this building, which means the toilets aren't working. Now, Thomas O'Keefe's is the nearest point, or if you're not averse to walking into a bookmaker's, I think it's open till 9:10 and there is a toilet next door. Just a very quick and small points. Number one, the purpose of this evening is to give you information. We're going to break that information down into 3 segments. The first section is going to be delivered by Carol Lee. The second section is going to be delivered by Hilary McMahon, and I will do the third section. After we've done the 3 pieces, we've left a segment. That can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 50 minutes, however long it takes for any questions you have to ask. We will be happy to answer those questions. With us we have pretty much all of our documentation, but you can take it from me, we have thousands of documents relating to this building because we're working on it for the best part of 7 years. So without any further delay, I'm going to ask, one other thing, we're actually here as a guest of the Kilcock Community Council because they have residencies here themselves, and we say thank you for inviting us or allowing us to use it under that position. I'm going to call on Carol Lee to do the first part of our story, which is really from our inception. It is a chronology, so it's not the size of the world, to where we had launched our centre in the Balnoaks, I think on the 5th of December 2015. Carol, if you wouldn't mind.
I stand because I'm not sure my voice will carry. Yeah. So is that all right?
Can everybody hear?
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. Good evening again. My name is Carol Lee. And as Dave says, I'm just going to give you a whistle-stop tour, really, of events that took place from the late autumn of 2009 right up until the launch of the Community Centre on the 5th of December 2015. First of all, just to kind of contextualise this, the KCN's vision for Kilcock is just to remind ourselves what that is. And that's really that Kilcock would be an open, inclusive, respectful, progressive and united community. And to that end, the mission statement then of KCN will be to implement a programme of community actions through improved communication, joint cooperation, shared responsibility and mutual respect. So that's what we're about. So just to bear that in mind as the discussion evolves throughout the evening. Firstly then, start at the beginning. 30th of September 2009, a report by Birkinshaw, Kenny and Associates, commissioned by Kildare County Council, basically carried out a detailed health check of Kilcock, and they identified a significant shortfall in health and immunity provision in our community. Kildare County Council then called, or established, if you like, an internal organisation called the Integrated Services Programme, ISP, to allow create, I suppose, community volunteer groups in different towns in Kildare, effectively to create a partnership approach to improving the quality of life in Kildare across a number of different domains, social, economic, cultural, recreational, infrastructural and services. So it's kind of very much a multifaceted approach. August 2011 then saw local groups and organisations in Kilcock being asked by the ISP to put forward candidates to form an umbrella group, if you like, to partner with ISP with the effective objective to deliver for the people of Kilcock and surrounding areas those objectives. A number of kind of processes took place then, but they effectively culminated in the establishment then of Kilcock Community Network, KCN, on the 3rd of November 2011. And I'm sure probably all of you aware that Ray Dudley was our first chairman. The KCN quickly identified 31 objectives for improving the wellbeing and living environment for the community, but 2 of those stood out. One was the need for the establishment of a primary care unit, and secondly, an integrated shared use multipurpose community centre, both to be co-located in the Bonos. Now, the significant community and financial benefits of co-locating those 2 facilities was not lost on the KCN. In addition, then it would bring added benefits to the two existing tenants at the time, which we saw St. Cocas Athletics and Kilcock Celtic. So 2 subgroups were quickly established to begin the process of meeting those 2 main objectives. In 2013 then, HSC announced that Kilcock would be getting a primary care unit situated in Bonos. It would be a 14,500 square foot unit. And what we learned very quickly there was the HSC were particularly delighted that it would be co-located with a multifaceted community centre and surrounding amenity facilities. The HSC were happy to cover the cost of a shared entrance as well as sufficient water retention to meet fire safety standards for both facilities. And this is ultimately going to save the community hundreds of thousands of euro. And this much needed facility, as you all know, was opened by Minister Simon Harris on 27th of February 2018. Work then also in tandem was commencing on the preparation for plans for the community centre. A special project team was established in 2013 to start the process, and numerous meetings were held with Kildare Leader Fund and the ISP representatives. And one particular need was established very quickly, and that was to kind of find out what our local groups and our local community volunteer groups needed. Because one of the particular needs identified was the significant child and youth population we had in Kilcock. So that was kind of a very overriding objective here, in meeting their needs. And then kind of meeting the various groups to kind of channel what was actually required. In addition then, a first meeting was held with Cooney Architects in April 2014, and it was agreed that the needs assessment with these groups needed to take place immediately. So over the coming months, a total of some 30 meetings took place with the local groups to identify, first of all, what was needed from existing members, what might be needed in the future from potential members, how much storage space was needed, how much parking space would be needed for events, and other kind of supports that they would need. And during this time, 4 public meetings were also held with the community to detail what was happening. Some 3-4 months later, then in July 2014, this information was brought to Cooney Architects, and over the next kind of period, some 14 meetings took place with the architects, and with the culmination of which was the design of a community centre that would be fit for purpose for the community, based on the engagement that we have with the local groups. And you can see from the designs there, I'm sure you're all aware of the kind of the excellent facilities that were proposed for this community centre. You had a main hall which could be subdivided into 3 parts, so multiple groups could use it at any one time. You had a stage area that could be elevated when in use for concerts. You had a collapsible seating area which could be stored away when not in use. The main area could also cater for existing tenant changing facilities, but also visitor needs. There was a dedicated youth hangout area for indoors, which was particularly important, and an area on the 2nd floor for the youth club. So again, it was ticking the box in terms of the needs for the community. And the entire bottom floor area of the centre was designed to provide rental opportunities for exhibitions and special events. So Cooney produced a final design, and this was agreed with both the KCN and Kildare County Council in early 2015. It was agreed at the time that a separate company would be established to run the community centre. I suppose, you know, in terms of a business plan, to me it was going to be a kind of centre that was going to generate income for the community. And detailed estimates of costs regarding the running of the centre were prepared, and also income projections were also included in that. Now at the time, Kildare County Council were sufficiently impressed enough with the business plan that they actually suggested to KCN that the business plan itself could be used as a model for future such ventures for other towns. May 2015 then, planning permission over I think a 5-year planning period was agreed. And a budget of 2 million was agreed with Kildare County Council for the centre build. Like the plan was of course to build the whole centre, but obviously then with the kind of economic recession coming in, it was decided then to do it on a phased basis. The first phase being the one that would generate the largest amount of income in the centre, but would also address the key requirements in terms of youth facilities and services in the community. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that this area, I mentioned about 2,000 square feet, and would have accommodated a number of the community groups, including music, dance, senior citizens and the youth. Kildare County Council, on foot of this kind of slight change of plan and deviation from what was originally planned, moving towards a phased approach, they asked KCN to meet with Cooney Architects again, just to see if any changes were required for the first phase only. And I think at that time it was agreed that extra water service points were required. On the 5th of December 2015 then, of course I'm sure a lot of you remember, was the launch day for the community centre in Bowen Oaks. And the designs for both phases 1 and phases 2 were displayed. Peter Minnock, who some of you may know, was the Director of Services for the Kildare County Council at the time. He launched the community centre project and was particularly gracious and grateful to the KCN for the excellent work that they did. Agreed that yes, the centre would be built on a phased basis, and that they actually hoped that the breaking of ground would take place sometime towards the end of 2016. And then in early January 2016, Kildare County Council agreed with KCN to erect a billboard just to kind of set out the plans and the illustrations for the centre. That's about it for me. I'm going to hand over to Lee, who will take you forward to the next stage of the story. Thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much, Karen. So just a brief synopsis of what Karen has said, because in everything in life, the past is very, very important, because it determines what we're doing in the present, and it certainly leads to what the outcome we want for the future. So in terms of that, what has happened right up until I take over this, and this is December now 2015, since the establishment of KCN, great progress had been made. We had an independent feasibility study to identify the Bowen Oaks site. We had an extensive consultation process. That went out to the whole community. Every single community organisation, committee, whatever, anyone who signed up to KCN was consulted independently and invited to any of our meetings, and not alone just to our meetings. We went out individually to speak to people. It was an extensive consultation. There was no way really, unless you had your head buried in sand, you wouldn't know what was going on in the community. Because certainly the committee were absolutely focused on getting all of the information out. The engagement, we engaged a renowned design team to develop and finalise the facility design. That was fully engaged. That was also an extensive process. We met numerous times with the design team at all hours of the night, right up until Christmas of 2015. in Christmas week, much, I must say, to the annoyance of our families. We secured the planning permission for the proposed development, and then we had an integrated design study for the 40-acre Vaughan Oaks amenity lands. And that's for all of the lands, to incorporate everything, not just for one piece or one facility or one sport club or whatever. It was all of it for everyone, and that's the whole idea. This is community. We secured funding. We were looking to secure funding. In fairness, Paul was heading up that, and that was contingent on KCC, Kildare County Council, actually giving us a lease, which hasn't happened yet. So this was a coordinated and planned approach, and it was exceptionally positive. In fairness, the remarks, and I was at several committees aside from this, at committee meetings, where that was actually spoken about. It was the first time in recent history, when I say recent, the last 30 years, that there was that kind of a positive, planned, integrated, united approach to this. And so we head into January of 2016. In January of 2016, we wrote to Peter Minnick, who was head of service, and we laid out what had been achieved to date and where then we needed to go. And we spoke about the funding, what we were prepared to do, that we had funding to be set up, that we had at this point, we ourselves, KCN, had engaged the services of a business planning consultant, and we sent a confirmation letter of that business consultant that he was accepting this and that he would take up that offer. So it was acknowledged this person had the expertise and was prepared to go ahead and work on this. We spoke about the challenges because we knew there were challenges. We had challenges up until that point. So we knew that we were going to have more challenges. That was nothing new to us. There's not one person sitting at this table that wasn't well aware of all of this and absolutely dedicated to bringing it forward. Because nobody at this table has any self-interest in this whatsoever. Most of them, in fairness, would probably, whether to use it or not, I don't know, but they certainly had no self-interest. It was for the community of Kilcock. And indeed, I have somebody sitting right here beside me that was engaged in this well before we even started. So that's the type of history, that's the background, that's the dedication. And that needs to be emphasised. We spoke about having consulted with KCC and with the design team on a lot of things. Site signage, design team e-tender, registration of a new limited company, which we were asked to do, so that we would all, not be subject to liable action in the future. And we did that at our expense. And then we also requested a formal lease of the lands of the Vaughan Oaks, because that was necessary. We couldn't do funding without having a lease, because whoever obviously has ownership of that land is the only person that can go out and seek funding from government bodies. So in order for us to proceed, and we had set up a funding group, in order for that to proceed, we had to have the lease. As I said, we don't have that yet, but we have it. So we went along, we came along in April, a group where Rita Burkenshaw was engaged to develop a report to give guidance and to inform the implementation stage of the multi-purpose community facility. And again, that was, in the light of the fact that we had funding at that point of 2 million, and that the design of the building, the planning permission, everything was in order and everything was there. That planning permission was secured in March of 2015. It is alive and well and doesn't die until March of 2020. That planning permission is there. There is no need to get further planning permission. The planning permission is in existence. It does the business that we set out to do. We have the design that was asked for and by the community at large, not one group, all groups. in this design plan. That community centre is what we have planning permission for. We have planning permission for the community from birth to death. It's as simple as that. At that point, we had funding of 2 million, and that was a start as far as we were concerned. When that funding was given to us, and again, it was this group that were at that table. Make no mistake about that. It's this group that got the funding. Had never been done before, not to that extent. And when we got that 2 million, the comment from our chair at the time was, thank you, that will do to start. It wasn't an acceptance of that was it. Kildare County Council owed this community. We have extensive building going on. We have extensive money that can be secured. And the community deserves it, and they deserve the best. And nothing but the best is what we are going to get. Then we come along, that was April of 2016, all of that happened, and then nothing. It's not that we weren't doing anything. I have sheets of paper, you can see all the paperwork around this. We were working away, we were trying to push this agenda. Kildare County Council didn't engage, nothing moved, no sign of the bonos, nothing happened. In mid-2016, KCN had an AGM. At that AGM, we spoke again about KCN, that this was a year of significance for the country, because it was 2016. It was a year of significance for ourselves, for the KCN and for the central company. We had a primary care unit financed by a public-private partnership, while the community facility was dependent on local government, grant aid, donations, local fundraising. And at that point still, Kildare County Council's commitment was 2 million. So then, you know, we met with the architects, we had meetings with everybody, we did everything. We were still at the stage in mid-2016, we still needed the Bournemouth site signage, we still needed the design team tender, we needed the registration for the new company. That was going ahead, and that happened, because that was within our power, and we went ahead and did what we had to do. We still were seeking a formal lease on the lands of the Bono. And so our work continued. And we said we were going to continue. We said that we had to have a vision of where the community facility sits within the community, and the need, identified need. It was research-driven, identified need by an independent consultant who looked at the whole environs of the dock and what the need was for the community. At that time, and for some years into the future, that need has accelerated and actually is greater than the identified need at the time of the consultation. So we came along to the 26th of October 2016, and to be honest with you, at that point, we were a little more than annoyed, shall I say. So I'm not going to read this out because I think this is important. On the 26th of October, we sent a letter to, it was actually the Chief Executive of Kildare County Council, to Peter Carey, and we wrote, "Dear Peter, it's with regret," well I wrote it actually on behalf of everybody and signed it, "that we find ourselves having to write this letter. Several issues had arisen over the previous few months and that needed to be addressed, and we sought a meeting with the Chief Officer. And we outlined the issues, which included that we had no meeting with KCC since October 2015. This was now October 2016, 1 year later. And they had given us a letter of commitment in November 2015, which I have here. No movement forward on the project by Kildare County Council or the ISP in over 11 months. No signage on the Bournemouth, reference the community facility after a launch, which had happened 11 months previously. Lack of consultation and communication from Kildare County Council. Failure to respond to correspondence and engage with the centre company, which was now set up and working. A breach of agreement on the appointment of a business wasn't the person we had engaged, and that person was overlooked completely. The review of the Burton Kenny Barnow's report by the Kildare County Council was not completed, and if it was, it hadn't been presented. We hadn't seen it. A lack of a partnership approach to the project in recent months, and a clear negative tone in communications. We were continuing to communicate at all points by email. We did everything in writing, so that we have a clear track record of everything that happened from our very first day meeting and setting up a company to do this business. Every detail is recorded. There is nothing, everything we say is fact, and nothing is anything but fact. So, you know, we spoke about the central company being in place and that it was being, it was being ignored basically at that stage. And so we asked for a meeting. So that was October 2016. And on the 6th of December 2016, we had our meeting. We insisted that the chief officer had to be present, because at that stage we didn't have much faith in anybody else in KCC. We were quite determined that the chief officer had to be there, and he wasn't long appointed. And in fairness to him, he's a gentleman, and he met with us. And we spoke about all of the issues. And at that meeting, Mr. Carey noted the construction of the new primary care facility, that it was well advanced, positive development for Kilcock, and we agreed completely with that. A tender package was being finalised by Kildare County Council for the drainage works for the Barnow lands to allow for its future development. And it included the construction of the perimeter track that follows the line of the old race course. Works on this phase of work at that point was expected to commence in the spring of 2017. There was an investment of $500,000 by Kildare County Council in that, and that was outside of, at that point, our secured $2 million. So that was extra spend, which is very welcome because it was badly needed. A draft sign at that point was presented to the meeting, and that sign was to say to encourage community involvement, social inclusion, sport, and so that was the community involvement. There was social inclusion and sport, both were there. Significantly, social inclusion had to be there because at that point we can talk in fairness, and now there is very little social inclusion. You can see it on the streets of this town. Our youth, unless they're interested in sports, they do not have another outlet. That is still the case. That hasn't changed. He spoke about, he reinforced Kildare County Council's commitment of $2 million to the project, and outlined that Kildare County Council would secure a design team to prepare the tender package with the intention of commencing construction on site in late 2017. Now, as you all know, in late 2017, the cost of building, while starting to rise, was certainly not what it is now. So, that $2 million secured back in 2015 had a hell of a lot more bang for its buck than it has now. But unfortunately, that time has been lost to us. He then said that the tender package would be structured to allow commencement of the facility using available funding, estimated at $3 million. Those are the words from the Chief Officer of Kildare County Council. Those are not our words. Chief Officer committed to the commencement of the facility using available funding, estimated at $3 million, and said that the funding estimated at best case scenario of an additional $1 million with a tender phasing structure to facilitate additional modules on the basis of funding other funding available. So, that's very clear. So that's the picture, that's where we're at. We have full plan permission for a building, a facility that was agreed with all groups in Kilcock and approved identified as needed. We moved from our 2 million funding to a 3 million funding. That is what is there currently. That planning permission is live and well. We can turn the sod up there now. There is no need for this weight to cost more. Would you go into a shop, buy an item, pay for it, walk away, halfway down, you turn around and come back and say, oh, here, look at that one's damaged there, give it to me, and I'll give you the same money, and walk it. You know, you don't do things like that. Who pays for something twice? Well, I don't, and I don't think anyone else should. And for a lesser facility than what has been identified by an independent consultant and ready to be built. There is no need for any delay. Look at, we had all of this, and that was in December 2016. You can imagine how we walked out of that building. We were absolutely delighted. We said, have we done well? We have stayed unified, we've held our tongue, when there were many times we did well to hold the tongue along with everything else. And we walked out of that building absolutely energised and ready to go again. It was like starting all over, but we had more. And we had a commitment to build this and phase build it with 3 million. These are all very important figures. This is fact. Can't deviate from fact. We have it in writing, it's signed, it's dated, it exists, and it's in the present. And that went on 2nd of December 2016, that was the 6th of December. On the following day, Peter Minnock, who is Director of Services, Planning, Community and Culture, sent a letter to Mr. Frank Cooney, Cooney Architects Limited, 32 the Cooney Merchants Quay, Dublin, who were the architects that we had engaged with all along, who had designed all of this, who worked with us every step of the way. And he wrote to them and he said, following a recent meeting with representatives of Kilcock Community Network, I would like to inform you of the outcome of the meeting. Mr. Peter Carey, Chief Executive, reinforced Kildare County Council's commitment of 2 million to the project and outlined that Kildare County Council will secure a design team to prepare the tender package with the intention of commencing the construction on site in late 2017. The tender package will be structured to allow commencement of the facility with available funding estimated at 3 million, 2 million Kildare County Council investment and additional funding estimated at best case scenario of an additional 1 million, with a tender phasing structure to facilitate additional modules on the basis of funding becoming available. Mr. Carey encouraged KCN to meet with you, that's with Mr. Frank Cooney, as you are the architect to date on the project, with a view to discuss the above and finalise facility plans by the end of the year. We will be tendering for a design team in accordance with procurement guidelines, and we can keep you informed of this process. And at that point, that was the 7th of December. And here we are again coming up to Christmas. And our families suffered the same fate as the previous year, because we engaged with Mr. Cooney, because we said we're not letting Christmas come and go, we're not going into a new year, we are getting this done now. And we sat down until all hours and we finalised everything. We spoke about everything that was needed on the basis of 3 million, on the basis of the phase build. We were saying if we could do it in one go, we'd be very happy with that. But at the very least, the footprint of the full building was going in. And then it could be phased. But that footprint would be there. There'd be no necessity to go back and look for planning permission. We had all of that done prior to Christmas. And then we took a deep breath and nothing happened. We were back to phase 1 again, waiting and no engagement. And again, we have all this paperwork to show all communication we had. I know in January of 2017, I wrote to inform Mr. Carey and Mr. Minnock that we met with the architects prior to Christmas, that they had all of our design plans there and available and ready to go, and basically said, well, you know, next step, it's your next step. So nothing happened. We came along in May of 2017. We were having meetings and everything else, and we received a letter because again we were looking for meetings. We were begging for meetings at that stage, and we actually got a letter. Sorry, it's the other way around. We got a letter from Kildare County Council addressed to the chair of KCN, to David Flanagan, and he spoke again that we were going to have a new Director of Services dealing with us, and Mr. Niall Morrissey. Mr. Minnock had been moved elsewhere. Kildare County Council had engaged the services of Morris Doyle Group, who were going to look at the design TV tenders. Spoke about the capital grants 2017 that we couldn't apply for because we had no lease on the Bawn Oaks. But anybody with a lease on the Bawn Oaks could apply, but we couldn't. He spoke about the project implementation team and about possibly holding meetings. And then he spoke about, which we had engaged with previously, the Bawn Oaks integrated design and vision. And phase 1 of the Bawn Oaks design incorporated the drainage of the 48-acre Bawn Oaks site to facilitate the HSE primary care facility, the Kilcock multi-purpose community facility, and future development of the Bawn Oaks, and construction of the 1 kilometre perimeter wall, and that had gone out to tender on the 11th of April. Closing date for receipt was 28th of April, that was 2017. And that he would keep us updated on that. Then he spoke about the Bawn Oaks overarching committee, where agreement had been reached to establish a Bawn Oaks multi-agency board structure to promote and oversee the development of the 40-acre integrated campus development. Now that was to oversee. It was an overarching group to oversee the full facility, not one aspect of it, and certainly not to change this aspect of it, to downgrade a facility and give it lesser money, to do less and not to facilitate all of the community. It was an overarching body to look at the integrated plan. And at that point, he said it is anticipated that members may comprise representatives of Kildare County Council, established clubs, KCN, HSE, and others currently being identified. And at that point, they were setting up the first meeting. Bawn Oaks signage, again, at that point in, when am I talking about again? May of 2017. Guess what? Bawn Oaks signage wasn't there. So again, the agreed sign for the Bawn Oaks vision, it had been erected on site on February 16th of 2017. We were looking for that from 2015. So that was just a sign. So you can imagine the facility. So again, that's where we were at. And that led to another letter the following month. We sent a letter again talking about, we replied to that letter basically. And we said we were happy to welcome the new Director of Services. We welcomed the news with the engagement of the procurement consulting company, and that we would like to have sight of a copy of the e-tender document, please. I think it's very important here to say that the planning permission for this facility in the Bawn Oaks was obtained by the KCN, not Kildare County Council, the KCN, care of Cooney Architects. And that's very relevant, because the redesign and re-everything is Cooney Architects again. But Kildare, Kilcock Community Network, they're not to be seen. It's Kildare County Council. Now, I know a little bit about conflicts of interest because I deal with them quite a lot. And my God, does that flash as a conflict of interest? How can a company that worked with us to get planning permission now work with somebody else to actually annihilate it? It's just a question I have. I find it very, very strange. And I do think it's something worth looking at. Spoke about the sports capital grant. We couldn't apply for anything. We had no lease. We still have no lease. Spoke about the integrated design vision, that we look forward to the appointment of the contractor for the drainage of the 40-acre. We were as positive as we could be going back. About the overarching committee, that we acknowledged the proposal to establish a board to oversee the overall Bono site. And then we spoke about the Workmanship Kenny Associates report. We still had no sight of the final report. That was engaged for us over the design. We still hadn't seen that in May of 2017. The Bono signage, we spoke about that. And we spoke about, in conclusion, our seek was at that stage, we sought copies of the following: the design team e-tender document, the submitted sports capital grant application, the final Workmanship Kenny report, the final Murta document, that was the person that was appointed in place of the person that we had appointed, as we were told to do, the tourism consultant draft report, and the Kilcock tourism group submissions to Kildare. So we stated at that point that we were very cognizant of not delaying the delivery of this much needed community facility and campus for Kilcock, and we requested that they please arrange a meeting between the new Director of Services and myself as Chair of the Kilcock Community Centre Company. And that was it. That's where we're at. That was prior to the first meeting of this Vaughan Oaks overarching committee. And at this point in time, prior to that first meeting, we have full planning permission, we have 3 million, and we are ready to roll. They are the facts that can be gleaned from every bit of documentation that we have. There is nothing but the truth spoken at this table. The facts are the facts, and they're signed, sealed, and delivered in documents that we have. Thank you.
You have to know, I'm reading the last piece. Obviously, be conscious of the fact there's 8 years of work here on 2 separate committees. We had a team effectively, at one time we had 16 people working on it. And the KCN shares and communicates with all its committees live, so when we get a document, everyone gets it at the same time. So we probably, amongst us all, might have 1,000 documents each at home related to the project. So it seems like an awful lot of information. There was an awful lot of work done to deliver that the way it was. I was remiss in something. I never introduced the team. John Ryan is the member of the KCN Steering Committee, and he represents the Business Association, and he's the chair of the Business Association. Kieran Gagan works on the project team, which is a subgroup of the KCN. Carol Burke is the same. Carol is our PRO, we're happy to announce. Helene is the vice chair of the KCN Steering Committee and the chair of the project management team. Val, good old Val, in the trenches since 2000 on the community centre. Val is on the KCN Steering Committee, and she's also on the KCN project team. Paul Sullivan is on the KCN project team, and May looks after our funding, but like all of us, we all end up doing other jobs that have to be done. And Carl Finn is the secretary of the KCN Steering Committee. Lisa Lyon, unfortunately, because of work requirements, could not get time to be here this evening for this meeting. I forgot to do it at the very start, so forgive me. The part I'm going to talk to you about, and I'm conscious that we've taken a fair bit of your time, is about in relation to the Vaughan Oaks Steering Committee. We were asked to join this it was called three different things. It started off being called the Balmodes Multi-Agency Board. And we were asked this by the county manager, and he asked us in all earnestly and said, look, will you get involved? And I think he asked us because he recognised that we had run and managed things to date in a very structured and well-governed way. And we said, this was at 5th of December 2016. So we agreed that we would attend, and they put it in writing to us. We then received a document from Fergus Flanagan, who no longer is with the ISP, asking us to join the Balmodes overarching group. So we said, well, we didn't really like the word overarching, but you know, the text was the same as it said for the Balmodes Multi-Agency Board. So we said, well, we don't really have an issue with that, and we agreed that we would, go to the first meeting. So the first meeting started on the 8th of June 2017. The meeting was held in Kilcock Shed at 11 a.m. in the morning. That was kind of significant for us because those of us who were volunteers, well, all of us have jobs. So in order for one of us or two of us to attend that meeting, we had to take a day off work and we had to lose pay. Whereas the people that were coming from Kildare County Council were paid. It was very, very difficult for us to attend these meetings at 11:30 on a Tuesday morning or a Wednesday morning. But we sent representatives anyway. Paddy O'Connor was there at the first meeting representing the Business Association, even though Paddy sits as the PRO and the KCN, and I was there representing the KCN. We were very surprised at the first meeting because our understanding of the Balmodes overarching group, or the Balmodes steering committee, was this was to do with people who were in the Balmodes, and whether it was the HSE or it was the Kildare County Council, it was the running track, or it was the, ourselves with the community centre, or it was the football club. The idea was that we would work together to promote the Balmodes as a future venue for a hub, and I won't go into all the details, I think it already. But at the meeting we discovered that there are two people from the GAA. Now we asked, and we said at the meeting, immediately, very first meeting, we have a serious problem with the GAA being there, not because the GAA are bad, the GAA does a fantastic job, but they have a massive facility of their own, and actually at the moment they provide an enormous amount of services to existing members of the KCN in the town. And our concern was, first of all, that they had their own facilities and it would be a perceived conflict of interest. But secondly, they told the meeting that they were told, or they were given a letter by the park superintendent, Simon Wallace, in 2016. This is after we'd gotten a launch day done for our community centre for a GAA all-weather pitch. Now, everyone at the table looked in absolute amazement, and as usual, nobody spoke. So I spoke and I said, well, I have no information from Kildare County Council as part of our design piece about an all-weather pitch. In fact, I do know that in our business plan, which was agreed with Kildare County Council, we were going to run and operate a shared use facility for all the clubs that wanted to use it in the town. There wasn't going to be two all-weather pitches in the Balmodes. The second thing that struck us as very strange was the Business Association at the table. And we said, why are the Business Association at the Balmodes? There's no commercial business in the Balmodes. The primary care or us, we're not for profit. There isn't a business element to it. So why was that? And we made that point clear. And as I say, John sits on our steering committee, as is Paddy O'Connor, who's their PRO. So, but our biggest concern was why was there, and it wasn't a criticism of the GAA, it was merely making the point of, one, why were they there, and number two, why were they standing up saying that they were told there was a pitch and they were giving a letter of comfort by the park superintendent? We knew nothing about it, and our team knew nothing about it. We did, however, notice that the drawing appeared on our billboard designs when we were starting, and we asked, why is there an all-weather pitch marked in that location? We did not agree, and they told us not to worry about it. The second thing that happened with us at our follow-on meeting, again, the meeting was held on the 25th of July. Niall informed the attendees of the meeting, and unfortunately Helene couldn't be at that meeting. Niall informed the meeting, he was the chair, that the budget for the community centre was 2 million. we immediately, myself and Penny O'Connor, Paddy was sitting across the opposite side of the table from me. We both said nearly in unison, say, actually, no, you're wrong, it's 3 million. It's 2 million and 1 million extra to be provided by Kildare County Council.
Just 1 second. When your references with somebody like Niall, can you just explain again who that person
Sorry,
is?
Niall.
Because it doesn't.
Cool, no bother. Sorry, I know it's a lot of information. No, you're fine. Niall Morrissey was the service director that was appointed to look after the Bon Oak Steering Committee.
He was the chair.
He was the chair of the chair. Kildare would always be the chair. That was the
Kildare
County Council's representative.
You represented Kildare County
Yeah.
Council. Okay, sorry.
Just to refer back to something there, we asked at the very first meeting, who decided who came on this meeting? Because Arab was elected, we're all elected. And Niall said it was his decision. And we said, well, where is the North Kildare Club? Where is Kilcock Basketball? Where is the Music and Drama Society? Like, how do you say to some groups, you come in, and other groups, no, you stay out? And particularly to a group that we actually weren't going to provide services for in the Bon Oaks because they have their own facilities and changes. In fact, recently they got another 5 acres to their space. And Niall said, that was my decision. And we said, but that really isn't acceptable, that it's just your decision. Like, there's people who are excluded from the process. This building, the SEDS in particular, was mentioned by the county manager as one of the groups that should be invited, and they were never asked.
What did you base that decision on?
I have no idea. At the time, we get out about it, we brought it up again at our second meeting, but I don't want to drag you in too much because I could leave you in that space for... That's fine. When I say Niall, I'll try to remember to say Niall. So you're good. At the second meeting, they changed the name from the Bon Oaks Overarching Group to the Bon Oaks Steering Committee. As I said, Niall Morrissey informed the group and said the budget for the community centre was 2 million, and we said, no, it's not, it's 3 million, and we explained it. And both I and Paddy O'Connor, in unison, said, that's the situation. There was no comment from any other person present in the room. In fact, at nearly every single meeting I was at with the Bon Oaks Steering Committee, nobody ever spoke. It was always us speaking because the only issue they seemed to be talking about was the community centre and what was happening with the community centre. We were asked to do, and we shared, our business plan, but we had to take out some of our income projections because we had ideas and plans for what we were doing, and sitting at the table was the chairman of an organisation that was trying to achieve exactly the same thing, and we said, but sure, that means that we're effectively saying, look, here's all the ideas we have that we're going to use to try and income generating. You might as well take it off, but you get it started so that when we have to start it, we can't achieve it. So we told them, we said, sorry, that's sensitive information for us, for the community, and for what we have to do. I don't want to get too caught up in all the details of it because there's a lot of information. The next meeting we had, sorry, I don't want to jump too far ahead, was on the 12th of September 2017. Helene, fortunately, was able to attend because they held the meeting at 4 o'clock rather than 11:30 in the morning. Helene presented the Bon Oaks Community Centre plan. That's the one you see over here. And we had the documented income and levies information from what had been raised, estimated in Kilcock since the year 2002 until 2014. And that was the same information we had presented to the senior management of Kildare County Council, where we said, this is our estimate for the monies that have been raised in Kilcock, and it was a conservative estimate. We didn't put it in the high ball side, we actually put it on the low ball side. And we estimated that was in the region of around €7.5 million. Now, we understood there was a central fund for distributing funds that are collected from levies. But we made the point that from our information, as far as we could see, there had been zero money, almost zero money spent in Kilcock over the previous 25 years. And again, of course, that was referenced by Burton Shaw Kennedy. We also mentioned at this third meeting that we noticed that our comments were not being recorded in any of the minutes. When we made a point of order, or we made a point about we had a concern there was a conflict or a potential conflict of interest, they weren't in minutes. There would be a phrase like, there was a lot of discussion around, but they wouldn't actually say, we said, or the KCN said, or the KCN had a concern with. And that was kind of true, that kind of happened up until the very I think the second last set of minutes that the KCA, or that the Barnard Steering Committee did. Cooney Architects actually attended a meeting on the 12th of September. And they pointed out that the design team couldn't be appointed until a budget had been set. And again, we repeated, no, there's already a budget agreed. There's a letter from Peter Minnick that went to you, Frank, that told you this is the amount. And he said, well, I haven't been formally given the budget. We noticed also from that meeting that there was a piece put in the minutes that said, Niall Morrissey, the chairman, said that a proposal to move the budget for 2 million was proposed by X and seconded by Helena McManus. I can assure you, in very disease, she's the last woman that would have seconded the proposal for a budget to be agreed at €2 million, having spent the last year and a half fighting to get our budget, to get our building done. We received the minutes for the meeting that were held, say, on the 5th of June. We might get those minutes on the 5th of July. Not the next week, or within a week's time. I'm sure some of you are involved in organisations know there's an expectation of minutes, but we often got them at the day of the meeting. So we would arrive at a meeting on occasions where, and we're all very busy people, where we'd have set documents and we'd be in the door and say, did you all read the meetings? And people says, yeah, and they haven't. And someone says, who will first them and who will second them? And there was a lot of that happening. And I'm not suggesting that that was done deliberately. I'm just saying that's the way they ran the operation. So half the time, the people who were at the first meeting weren't at the second and the third meeting. And the person who was at the third and the fourth wasn't at the fifth, the sixth and the eighth. And yet they would turn up on the ninth meeting and say, yeah. And we saw that happening. It's not how we ran our ship. If we don't have a quorum, and we're not required to be quorum, but if we don't have a quorum, we don't make decisions. We don't make decisions on our own. We're not allowed to go into a meeting and say, oh, well, I think we'll go with that. No, we actually have to go back, whether we like it or not, and pass the challenge of each individual independent member's opinion and say, what's the consensus? Do you agree? And if they say yes, then we act. That applies, by the way, to all our posting on social media, all our publicity that's put into the press, because it isn't, we're terribly conscious that an organisation like ours are so easy to be picked off because we're here representing a large number of groups, and it's easy to pick off one of our groups. The following meetings, and I'm going to skip the 17th of October because it's going to repeat the same situation as we mentioned before. There was one issue that turned up with the meeting of the 17th. For the first time, Simon Wallace, a very nice man by the way from Kildare County Council, he's the Parks Superintendent. Simon was there. There's only one in Kildare, as I understand it, so he's responsible for an awful lot. And we asked some questions about how the drainage works are going, how things have been going, was everything going okay, and he gave us a brief outline. But he mentioned to us that the second soccer pitch had been done. And he also mentioned that the €75,000 grant for the running track had either had been applied for or it had been secured. And the idea was they would hope to use it to reverse it. And we've spent 4 weeks at this stage with this group telling us, or the chairman of this group, Niall Morrissey, telling us that now this group is going to decide what community centre we get. So we said, first of all, who decided the soccer club was getting the second pitch? And I'm not attacking the soccer club, fair play to them to get the second pitch. But who pays for it? And I was told, and I was in the room, and he said, that hasn't been decided yet. Now, what he was supposed to say to me was, oh, that's the footballer pay for that. Or he was supposed to say, well, Kildare County Council pay for that. He didn't. So we immediately said, who made that decision? We're the Barnard's overarching group. Surely, if you're putting in facilities, where does that money come from? Is that coming out of our pocket? Because our money is ring-fenced for the community centre. And Carmel Kelly and Fairness have said, look, we won't be getting any work done on our running track until we'll get the sports grant and we apply for it. Now we were conscious of the fact at that particular point that the running track didn't have a lease at that time, and it may have changed since then. And we knew that they wouldn't be able to apply on their own for sports capital grant unless they had a lease of their own. Kildare County Council would have to do it. Okay? And incidentally, Kildare County Council got a grant of €80,000 on our proposal. in 2017, I think it was March 2017. I'm pretty certain that money is now gone, because you have to start and build your project within a set period of time. So it's not like they didn't know about it, or there were things that clearly show that action was taking place, but it wasn't followed through. I won't bore you too much longer, other than to say to you, we moved into the meeting in 16th of January 2018. 4 of us turned up. The reason there was 4 of us there, because 3 of us went down to Shona Brooks Cafe, and we didn't have enough to have a quorum. We had a cup of tea and some buns. There wasn't any minutes done for it, but no one turned up except myself. I thought it was you, Val, but I'm going to check it with you. You were on the bun line in Jonas. There was 4 of us anyway turned up for the meeting. The next meeting happened in the 14th of March 2018. Now, we had a gap of 5 months to the next meeting. Nothing happened in between that time and this time. And all the time we're waiting on when are we starting our facility in the Balmores. So the next meeting took place on the 14th of March at the offices of the HSE for the first time in the Balmores. We were delighted. We'd worked really hard to get the HSE in there, and one of the things we had requested before they ever agreed to go in there or build the building with their architects was that we at least have the use of a room for meetings, because with respect to the facilities in the town, there isn't a lot of places. We use the credit union building, which is lovely and warm, and had lovely tables and chairs and tea and coffee and biscuits, but we weren't able to stay there. And some of the places you can see, this is the best that we have, some of the best facilities that we have, and we're glad to have them. But they're not actually exactly fit for purpose for meetings, because there's no small rooms that you can have multiple meetings in. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. At the meeting on the 14th, we were told at the meeting that it was decided that a person from Tusla, who lived in Maynooth, and a lovely girl, again, nothing to do with that person, was going to become the new youth officer to join the KCA, to join the Balmoral Steering Committee. This is the chair, Niall Morrison, of notified us. We had made a request at the 3rd meeting that we felt it was wrong. There was nobody here to represent youth. We've 3,500, probably 4,000 now, and that's just a local community of young people, and they're hanging around train stations, they're hanging around bus stops. Some of them are doing absolutely nothing wrong, but some of them are more likely to do stuff wrong if there's nowhere else for them to go. And we were conscious of the fact that there was no one from Ferolga involved, and we asked and said, there should be someone here from you. Well, the chair felt the best person that should be to represent it was a person who lived in Maynooth and who worked for Tusla. No disrespect to Tusla, but with fairness, their organisation is not built around youth services. They have to do an enormously difficult job on an enormously different subject matter that no community centre would want housed in the middle of their community centre, because most people wouldn't want to be seen to go in for fear people might think they're going in to see Tusla. And it's as obvious as that.
Excuse me, sorry, can I just say one thing? One reason why there's a lot of kids hanging around bus stops is because the buses don't turn up.
Sure, yeah. When I said bus stops, I was being generous. There's a lot of places to hang out and wish they weren't. We're going to get to I have a funny feeling we're going to get to the buses at the end of this meeting. But we protested and said that that's actually not fair. You've made the decision as chair to appoint somebody you didn't have a discussion about it. You didn't ask the committee and say, here's my thoughts, who has a thought, let's have a vote on it. There was no vote, it was just decided and it was done. And worst of all, the girl was waiting outside the door. We knew nothing about it until that happened. That was the first part of that meeting. The second part of that meeting was Cooney Architects, we were told, were out ready to present the new designs and concepts for the Balmores. And myself and Eileen said, there'll be no redesign meeting for the community centre in the Balmores. We've told you enough times that what's been agreed has been agreed, and we expect that to be upheld. And as far as we're concerned, Coonies can stand outside all day because we are not sitting here to rubber stamp. We were conscious of the fact that our attendance was being used to say, you turned up at the meetings, you were there, the vote was taken, you didn't like the way the vote was taken, tough luck. Because we could see how things were being moved where things were being forced rather than being agreed with consensus. We agreed Coonies could come in, talk about design and what was proposed and what was needed for the community, and they said there's absolutely, whatever happened along will be a fit for purpose building for the community. give me a second, sorry, jump a bit far myself. We made the point again about the budget, and we also made the point about the Clemmons were sent an instruction from Kildare County Council. The budget was 3 million, and they were to start the detailed design for phase 1, so that the builder could be, be tendered for and start building the project. We were getting a strong sense that this committee was entirely engineered to ensure that Kildare County Council wouldn't have to live up to its expectations. And I want to say something to you. When I say Kildare County Council, it isn't the chief executive or the girl that answers the phone or the lad that's out working hard in the cold weather doing great work for the community. Our sense was there was an individual or two in Kildare County Council that just wasn't happy that this community had organised itself. There was no influence could be gotten on us. You couldn't push us to give you a favour over another. It's not possible. We just don't wear those jackets. So our sense was that this whole piece was being run to say, well, you 5 people over here who haven't spent a day working on the detailed analysis and assessments and interviews that we do, you're going to decide the community centre for Kilcock. And as far as we were concerned, we weren't putting on those jackets. So at the next meeting, the last meeting we attended of the Balmoral Steering Committee, I would say, I'd use the word community people. There were 3 people there who weren't either from the HSE or Kildare County Council or the girl from Tusla. There was 3 of us. It was myself, there was Lee, and Carmer Kelly was there. And again, they tried to put the jacket on about the budget's 2 million, the detailed design is here again. They came in and we had the same round discussion again, and it got to the point where we said, look, you show us where it's 3 million or it's 2 million and we're wrong, and we'll back out of this altogether. You can all do what you like, we'll walk away. Because we knew we had the documentary evidence to show that it was great. And Niall Morrissey said this was going to be his last meeting, but that he would get a letter from the chief executive to say that the budget was 2 million. And we said, if that's the case, if that letter manifests itself, we won't be on the steering committee again.
What date was that?
The date of that meeting, I'll give you now, Park, just 1 second. That meeting, I'm going to make sure I have the right dates here, because there's one meeting, that meeting was on the 5th of June. Just want to make sure I have it right, Park, forgive me. Now, also to say to you that when they were showing us the various different types of design, and the first design that we were shown is nothing like the design that they submitted to certain member groups just before Christmas, and when we found out about it, we notified the community. We were shown drawings of square buildings with blocks moving off in different directions and everything else, and we were told these are just draft ideas, and we said, we don't need to look at ideas, lads. We have 3 million to go and build our very, very first phase. But one of the things that struck us was that we noted that when they were writing information in, they would say things like, you can play badminton, and you can do drama, and you can do dancing. And we've mentioned numerous times about how our facility has to provide X, Y, and Z services from cradle to grave, effectively. But it didn't seem to have a registration. In fact, it seemed to us like the members seemed to think we were the annoying ones because we kept interrupting and saying, no, that's not what was agreed, or no, that's not what was in the minutes, or no, you didn't put what was in the minutes, what was said. So people were getting frustrated. But we're also very conscious of the fact that Kildare County Council is almost like, I don't use the wrong word here, they're like a benefactor. If you're a club or group in any town, no matter what your size is, at some stage you're going to be looking for a grant. Or you're going to be looking for planning permission. Or you're going to be looking for support for some initiative that you're doing. And if Kildare County Council is not on your side, you're going to find it extremely difficult to do it. However, if Kildare County Council are on your side, they can move mountains. It's fantastic. So it occurred to us, how are groups supposed to fight against Kildare County Council in support of what we're saying, when they might pull the plug on something, or they might pull the plug on an initiative. And we've seen how working with Kildare County Council on the committee had helped 2 clubs get things done that they haven't been able to do themselves. So our position was, damn those clubs. We were annoyed about the fact that votes were taken and all the rest of it, and we made that information clear at our meeting. But we never publicly said anything. We didn't speak to the media, we didn't put up a social media post. In fact, up until the 15th, I think it was, of January, maybe it was the 9th of January, that was the first time in 6 years we said anything negative about anything in this town. We were very, very cautious not to be caught into getting involved in rows and discussions that would dissuade us from the fact that we had a community centre to deliver, and it wasn't about the personalities, it wasn't about the individual groups or the individual people. This whole meeting tonight is about us and Kildare County Council. It is about nothing else. It isn't about us, proof pointing. Now, a couple of things that were asked about. One of the things we were asked about, just moving off this just a little bit, and moving really into the next piece. One of the things we were asked about was fundraising. Why didn't we fundraise? And we actually had a funding officer. But once we couldn't get the lease, and Kildare were taking charge of the lease, we couldn't apply for the big stuff. We couldn't go for the capital sports grants. I can show you numerous meetings we had with Kildare Leader, and I can show you numerous meetings we had where we said, we want to progress an application for funding with the National Lottery, and we'll come back to you. Or you need to talk to so-and-so, we talked to so-and-so and nothing would happen. So I'm happy to provide it, but it wasn't that we didn't for the want to try. On the side of local fundraising, I remember one night, and maybe John will remember this, one night on the KCN I sat down and I spoke to, at the time it was Mary Murphy. I said, Mary, I said, we need to try and organise a community fundraiser. Is there any way we can get $2.5 grand out of your organisation, and maybe $1 grand out of them and $1 grand, and we get started with a funding drive? And I was told in no uncertain terms, where did I think they were going to get €2,500 to give me? And a part of me says, I understood it because we're in the middle of a recession and they were fighting, and they have been doing it every year since, every week since. I know I've won the bottle of whiskey I think 4 times in the pub in the Gregory selling tickets for £1, and when they get 50 or 100 tickets, they give out 2 bottles of whiskey and they make that 60 quid every week. We knew that if we started trying serious fundraising, collect 100 grand or 200 grand, we were probably going to knock out 1 or 2 clubs in the community. There was one club in particular we knew that if they had lost 40 or 50 grand in fundraising, they wouldn't be able to pay the bills. They might have had to close the doors. So it wasn't because we weren't interested in doing it or we weren't organised for it. You can see by now we're a very organised group. It was that we recognised after 40 years of inactivity from Kildare and nothing happening from the point of view of community and amenity provision, this wasn't the time for us to start banging the heads of people in Kilcock looking for that extra 100,000 or 200,000 to go with this project. And we don't believe that that prevented that happening. We think that was a decision that was taken to say, we're not proceeding with that. We should have been called into a meeting by Kildare County Council in February of 2017. They should have said to us, lads, we have a problem. What's the problem? How do we get past it? What can we do? But it didn't happen. We got silence. We started to hear from our members that other meetings were happening in the town. There was people coming into the town to meet other individuals about their business, but they were members of the KCN. So they were being moved away from the umbrella group that Kildare County Council set up, so they had a one organisation to deal with in the first place. So I want to move quickly on to our next part of our agenda. Obviously there was a vote taken at the second last meeting of this organisation, and that vote said the budget was set at 2. We weren't at the meeting. We were glad we weren't at the meeting because we were not going to have it said, sure, you were at the meeting and you were outvoted, sure, that's the way it goes, because that would have validated this organisation, which was not set up the way we were told, and we have it in writing how it was meant to be set up for the purpose for which it carried itself out. Anyway, I'm going to move on with the minutes because I'm really conscious of being here a long time at this stage. I thought I wouldn't talk longer really, but I think I succeeded. So the proposal that was put up, the proposal that we got our hands on, Paddy O'Connor from the Business Association, I met him inside here next door Footmall up to 15 on a Saturday morning, and he said to me, did you see the drawings? Did you get the drawings for the new proposal for the community centre? And I said, what drawings? what proposal are you talking about? And he said, oh, we showed it to our members last Monday night. And I said, who gave you those drawings? And he said, well, Kildare County Council. And I said, well, who else got them? He said, well, I don't know, I'm not for sure. But we eventually got a list from information we acquired. There was about 6 groups got it. Some of them weren't on the Balnoak Steering Committee. Some of them were members of the KCM. We were not notified of it. It was said that the documents were sent to us. I had 3 emails, and I went back and looked, and bear in mind we're all living normal busy lives and doing all the things that we do. And a drop-down file was given to you and it says, download here, and here's your drawings. You can have a look at these drawings. And at no stage did I get a document that said, here's the final design agreed for. I got these multiple different type drawings, and I looked at them, and I evaluated them, and I sent them off to people in our group to say, will you evaluate that for the size, space, storage, and blah, blah, and come back and tell me what it is. So when we got that information and been told that had been shown to groups, we know that's a green light for says, this is going to happen. Because within about 2 days of that, we got notification. Kildare put an ad up and said, 2 million, new drawings, going to be discussed in January, blah, 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 blah. So we realised we had to act. The message we were communicating was that our design, as designed is what it says on our posting, the first night we posted it, is tantamount. Because what I'm seeing is a completely different building to this. The reason it was different was more than twofold, multiple fold. First of all, from the size perspective, and we actually got some of our own sizing wrong, so we put up some of our Facebook posts. But it was just before Christmas, and I was heading off to America within 2 days, and I was under a lot of pressure to get an awful lot of other things done. But the basis of it was this. Their hall they were proposing was 330 square metres. Our hall was 725. I could be wrong, it could be 734, but it's in that range. We knew that was a problem. We knew it was a problem for a number of reasons. One of the reasons it was a problem was ours was that size so you could divide it in 3. So that if the drama had to do a play, or the school had to put on a musical, or a concert had to go out into the front of the Balnoaks, the other 2 sections of the hall could be used for basketball, dance, any other subject matter we need for. But for the hall that size, if basketball is on, that's all that's on. Or if music and drama is on, that's all that's on. So one of the reasons we knew that was a problem. The second thing was the aspect of the building. It's facing the running track. The way it's designed, it can't go left or right of itself, unlike our own. The one you see there can go, it can extend either way. It was done that way at a stage where it was in the Balnoaks, that if we needed another 70 feet in one direction, we could do it if it was required in the future. We knew from that drawing it couldn't. It would be on top of the running track. So they could move out 1/3 more of their, so we knew the maximum size of that hall could be was 4,000. The other thing we noticed about the meeting rooms was there was a severe shortage of them. The meeting space was in at 330, I think it was 300, maybe 370 square metres. The drawing that you have there in front of you, our piece, or what we call phase 1, in total that's nearly 1,200 square metres. It's nearly 3.5 times the size of what they were proposing to build and deliver. We didn't need an engineer to tell us that that was not going to be fit for purpose on the basis that we didn't over-design the building by 3.5 times it was supposed to be, and the architects didn't tell it was brilliant, and they didn't tell us it was brilliant because we got it 3.5 times wrong. So we didn't need someone to tell us it was fit for purpose, we knew it wasn't. The other thing that concerned us about it was, we noticed that the word K-leisure appeared in the language coming from Kildare in around the end of 2017. We knew all about K-leisure because we'd gone and looked at their facilities. We hadn't gone in and had meetings with them and all that, we just looked at what they did. And we also went to a facility down in the Leaks Community Centre. And you can go on your phone and look up K-leisure, you'll see they do a fantastic job for fitness and health. Well, certainly for fitness, because effectively they provide gym services, dance services, spinning classes. There is a dearth of community facilities in them. There's definitely no youth clubs in any of the ones we saw. And again, we already referenced the point that we could see where this is now our centre, as in Kildare County Council. We're going to run and manage it. And of course, you're going to run and manage it. Who's the director of the single director of Care Leisure is Peter Minner. So we would have to assume they would do exactly the same as they had done in the other 3. Well, we didn't set up this to deliver a sports fitness centre. We set this up to deliver a community centre. So there are numerous other things that are wrong with it. we're not happy that one organisation, Kildare County Council, will decide, they'll tell you, no, we're going to have a board and it's going to be populated with people who are going to make sure it's not. But unfortunately, these boards, as is with K Leisure, are either filled with public representatives or a single representative from the community where that building is placed. In our case, we have proposed that 5 members of the community sit on the board, that there's 2 members from Kildare County Council, that there's a member from the running club, a member from the HSE and a member from the running track. And if we need to have expertise on the board, like accountants or solicitors, they're the additions. That's to make sure that the facility doesn't have a slant, that one group is favoured over another, one religion is favoured over another, one colour is favoured over another. It's for everybody. And it's about inclusion. And it goes back to our mission statement. So it became obvious to us very quickly, and it wasn't our job to put a big poster up here today for the proposal, because, to be honest with you, I am counting the days before we're told, oh no, that's just a draft, we're going to add something to that now. And all I know is, from what I was told, from the people who were presented the information, and we weren't there, was this is your new community centre. It's ready to go. The councillors are going to vote to do a part date on, I think, I'm not sure part of it, is it the 18th or it's not tomorrow, is it? There's an early date in January said they were going to move it towards the council to vote in the ministry. Well, maybe someone... Ah, cool. So, we understand that Kildare isn't a black-hearted, bad organisation. But we also know that somebody reached into the middle of us, tried to separate us, used, and I think unfairly, their influence, and made it impossible for people other than to sit there and nod and agree with what was being proposed, when they had already given us written agreement for what they were going to do and did not carry it forward. One of the key things I want to move on to now is questions from you guys, because you've heard us talking for long enough, and we pretty much have all our information here, and we're extremely well versed in it, because believe me, we've had to go over it so many times over the last number of years. And I'm going to open it to the floor. If you wouldn't mind, if you are going to ask a question, if you could just say who you are and what organisation you are, that'd be great. We'd appreciate it so we know who we're talking to, and it also puts a bit of relevance to the question, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks, Neil.
What happens next?
Very good question.
Can I ask something to do with the talk first, just regarding issues that you raised?
Would you just tell people who, well, I know who you are.
Richard Miller, and I'm just with the Kilcock Tourism Group. I would be surprised if the Kildare County Council, you made mention of a consultant that you appointed, and then a consultant that they appointed. And I'd be very surprised if the Kildare County Council wouldn't have based decisions on the business case of this facility on their consultants' projections. Have we ever seen their business plan for this, given that they are the ones who are paying for it?
There is, as we understand it, we have not, there isn't a business plan for this proposal that they're proposing. There isn't one.
So there's no anticipation of revenue stream for this facility?
There is no business plan being presented to any group so far as we are aware. And there is no business plan in existence public that we are aware. There may be one, it hasn't been, we haven't seen it.
We have our business plan.
But you're not, sorry, but you're not referring to our business plan.
No. So my understanding is that you were tasked with producing a business plan.
Oh, you're talking about our business plan, sorry.
No, I'm talking about, the point is that as a management consultant, I would task a business to come up with their business plan, and I will also appoint an independent consultant to look at it from a different perspective. And then the two I would compare, and I'd say, okay, those look pretty good. I am happy to go with their proposal. Or I would say, hold on, there are some unrealistic projections here. Let's have a look into it. Did that ever happen, to your knowledge?
We were asked to do a business plan, which we did, which they said was rock star stuff, an example for everyone to use.
Yeah.
We were asked to provide a business consultant, qualified business consultant with a financial qualification to do a business plan. Kildare said, later, having agreed that we would do that, we'd appoint our own, but they appointed somebody with no business qualification. We asked, how can you appoint somebody or even consider somebody who doesn't have any degree or any qualification in accountancy if you're going to do a business? The other thing I want to say to you is, this isn't, what we're producing in the Bonos, even though it has to break even at some stage, it's not a business. It's not a profit centre. The library's not a profit centre. It's a service for the community. Now obviously, you don't want to run up serious debts, but it's not K Leisure where they turn over 2.9 million a year out of 3 centres. This is a community facility. We're not there to screw every penny out of every group in the town. We're there to provide services. So,
I agree with that, but I would also understand that the council
sure,
would have a different perspective.
But as a business consultant, you'll understand this. You have to have the business plan that's applied to the type of business. We were not a commercial enterprise. We were a social enterprise.
Yeah.
And what Kildare created was a commercial enterprise analysis. And we, again, look, there's 3 phases to this for a reason, because everything's brilliant, everything's good, fire here, build a set, ready to go, nothing happens. Big huge row, big meeting, 3 million, sorry about all that, forget about the business plan. That's what we were told, do you remember? We were told at the meeting, forget about that business thing that was done, because we didn't agree with it and nobody was actually asked a question during that. Like, they spoke to 5 groups, they spoke to the GAA about our community centre. Asked them about what they thought about our community centre. They asked the Scouts, who aren't in the community centre at the time, we didn't have it, they had their own building. They spoke to the soccer club, they spoke to, and look, I don't want to get too dissuaded, but just to tell you that they did an analysis we didn't agree with, but if you maybe I know you were late because you didn't hear the whole presentation. Yeah. You would have heard the part where that part was discussed. I don't want to get caught on that one question, if you don't mind. Parag, you have a question?
So there was a reference to a long anticipated meeting, or kind of a renewal day when you met Peter Carey, and he said 3 million.
Yes.
And then there was a Peter Minnock letter the following day, and it was 2 million plus 1 million extra funding,
yes.
Something like all things going well, or some phrase.
Best case scenario.
That's
how we worded it.
That's what I'm asking. So what I want to understand is, was there any descriptions to what that 1 million represented? Where did it come from? What was it based on?
It was coming from avenues that Kildare County Council could access on our behalf in order to provide that funding. Because we couldn't do it because we didn't have a lease. But that was committed to, and that the facility, design facility, would be based on 3 million, not 2 million. That's the significant piece.
I understand that. So the 2 million was cash that they had.
It was ring fence previously, a year before had been ring fence.
But the million wasn't, at that stage the million hadn't been descriptively secured, or
no.
It was
pending. It was rather guaranteed. Extra million. It was guaranteed.
So guaranteed but unspecified.
Unspecified, yes.
So we don't know where it's from.
No, that's within the gift of Kildare County Council, as you know, for it.
Well, I know other things about Kildare County Council.
I understand that, but you're well aware of how they get their funding and the avenues available to them that would not be available to us.
I want to ask, what was the quantity of leader money that you had ambitions, or they had ambitions to get?
Well, at that point, where the relevant answer and the relevant question is, was leader available in Kildare at the time? And the answer to that was no. And they couldn't guarantee any leader money because I believe it was a bit of disarray, was it not at that stage?
It wasn't that it was disarray, but Kildare had been allocated 12 million in the previous 6-year cycle, and in the current 6-year cycle, it's just under 6 million.
When the possibility was, from our point of view, the executive of the Kildare County Council could have been dipping into that fund, I don't know. We weren't given breakdown of that.
We weren't part of the discussion, nor was it in our decision process as to whether that happened or not. We were just told.
This is what the situation is.
3 budget. We are committed to the extra money. And by the way,
I've heard a costing of this, the existing planning commission, in the order of 3.8 million. That's what it would cost to deliver the
in its entirety.
Current pricing. I don't know if it's under the context of current pricing, but 3.8 is the figure I've been told to deliver the existing planning commission.
In its entirety, phase 1 and 2.
That was the case when we got the
case
planning
in
commission.
2015.
Yes,
So
that was the case. It's sizably increasing.
Could I say to you that we had savings that were estimated, because Tim Sheen's a quantity surveyor. We had savings that were estimated anywhere between 400 and 600,000 by the fact that the HSE had put in the entrance, had put in the water, had put in the power connection, and left it there for the community centre, and also the water attenuation that was required for fire safety for the building, because the water pressure was great there. All that work is already done. The other part of it, of course, is the shared use of a certain part of the car park. That, you know, if they're not open in the evening, the car parks are
I
there.
understand.
Yeah.
And the last point to make is that the report I've seen says they spent $500,000 on drainage, and they've spent something in the order of 40 on design costs, i.e. coolie or coolie related stuff. That's outside of the 2 million.
Yes. The design costs were to come from the 2 million.
No, I
40,000. That was agreed by the County Council. They were paying 40,000.
I think it's outside, and it has been spent outside the 2 million.
Okay. So the 2 million is still there for it.
I was told this afternoon that 2 million exists.
Have the annual drawdown on the 1 million that we were promised? No.
And just to put things in context, for this year coming, Kildare County Council need 20 million from the local property tax for the whole county. That's the whole, just to put things, I'm just trying to figure out where can we get more money from. And 20 million for 200,000 people plus 240,000 is a whole county context. So unlocking extra millions is not, like, I can't walk in and say, well, you have it, can you allocate it? It's a level of detail that I don't have. So I'm mentioning that because there are no easy answers from a county councillor's point of view to switch on money.
But with respect for it, Kilcock was an identified town with a deprivation of services. It followed other towns in the area that have sourced and got money, but it's an identified area that funding was to go into.
I'm not indifferent.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you're getting 2 million that no other town gets.
Yes.
No other town got, there was a 1 million allocation of funding for the community centre in Nace. That was a community gain. I'm going to call it a gift.
Yes.
It's external
I know
funding.
about that, yeah.
And if that sort of scheme doesn't exist, the county council has to go to national funding to source. And that's why either another. That's what I was trying to work out where the 1 million promise, what it was based on.
But that,
Yeah,
again,
that's
we didn't have discussions with Kildare in detail and say where are you going to get the money from that.
Director of Services and Chief Officer.
CEO said to you, we wouldn't be.
We were quite happy to take it up the
We weren't looking for ways not to take it.
Oh no, I know you weren't.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, this is in 2000. This is in 2006. We started this process in 2011.
The other thing, just to say, and I'll finish and leave room for everyone else, is that when the so-called Troika arrived, all the cash that Kildare was sitting on got frozen. And it still wasn't unfrozen by 2015. We don't actually know when. Technically, it was required to borrow money in the national funding exchequer scheme. So I don't know whether that contributed to delays, but I'm just telling you, there are layers to all of this that I don't have proper sight of.
And we're identifying that. We know there are a lot of layers.
We might, when you're finished, you might show Trees and I at least the letters so that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Can I just, sorry, I just want to ask one question because I don't want to take away from the group either. Just for the last meeting, the final meeting you had on 5th of June 2018, you asked for a letter, and I said we would get you the letter from you to say the budget was 2 million. Did you get that letter?
We did, yeah. That's why we didn't attend any further meetings.
All right, I just wanted to know.
And we said that at the meeting, by the way. That wasn't something we decided. We actually said at the meeting that if a letter provided us that contradicts what was agreed with us, we won't be at the next meeting. And then we went back to our committee and said, this is what we said. Are you happy with that? If that's the case, and they said yes, and we moved forward with that stuff.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
Hi, sorry to like the part. My name is Jessica Lang, I'm a member of the community.
Ordinary scale like yourself.
With my children and my community. The lease, is it known that anybody has received, is able to access support or just say sports grants or whatever because they have,
access to these. Obviously, you were saying that nobody in the community, or I'd imagine in the steering group would have been KCC can
The
go
lease
forward for grants or anything because they have the land. Is it KCC that have the actual lease?
They have the lease for the whole bond.
Okay.
It was vested to them in 1973 by the minister at the time. And they've given the soccer club a lease. I'm not sure if the running club have their lease yet. Maybe they do. You are required to be a leaseholder to apply for a sports capital grant. Any state grant funding, you have to be the leaseholder. And if you're not the leaseholder, so we couldn't apply. We did try. We did the forms. We had them ready. We had them filled out. We had everything done.
Like that, I suppose that you would hope, to proceed, it would be to apply for like a lease of the land. Would that be the first?
But that is what I'm talking about. If you had the lease,
apply for the lease of the land, and then with the, I suppose, just say for instance, at the moment it's 2 million that's actually offered, I suppose, in the lease in the latest letter. And then would the further million be in grants that the community can request? Would that be the extra 1 million that the community would want to have the lease? And then with the 2 million that you have, is that phase 1? Like, would phase 1 be able to be built out of that, or would the whole shell of phase 1 and 2 and then work on the inside? What's the plan?
Yeah, because I didn't quite understand everything you asked me. Okay. The very first phase that you see there, at the time, Tim Sheehan, when he looked at it, said, maybe because it's the most detailed part, you'd be looking at somewhere in the region of 2.1 to 2.2 million. With fit out, that could be another 600,000 or it could be 300,000. And that wasn't considering the savings because of the HSE. So we knew the reason it said estimated 3 million was because it could be 2.2, or it could be 2.5, or it could be 2.6. So rather than saying it's 2.6 and it's 200 grand short, they said estimated. So the design is as if it can be for 3, is what it said. So the idea behind it was, or the answer to that question is, we were told in a single sentence, it's 3 million, we can't do more than 3 million. How people wrote that information afterwards, Peter Minnick changed it from what was said in the minutes that Kildare sent us from the meeting. He changed it to a different phrase. The phrase didn't matter to us, we were told, and we were given in writing it was 3 million. The architect was told to design it in 3 million. What happened next? It wasn't in our gift. We weren't the leaseholder. We didn't give the architect an instruction other than we met with him as we were requested to do and said, make some changes in the water please on the second floor. And that was it. Nothing happened after that. And then this magic Bono steering committee appeared and we luckily went into it, and when we got into it we identified that our worst fears were being
But would your plan be to say, for instance, because everybody's going to say, look, it's 2 million, that's all it is again. Suck it up, that's all you're getting, it's 2 million. Would your plan be to proceed like with maybe the first phase of this? Because obviously this is what I want.
It's exactly as we had agreed with them 2 years ago. It doesn't change. We're not going to wait until Kildare goes and tries to build something else on the community centre that's already agreed. We expect them to live up to the commitment they gave to the community. We can give you 10 hours of reasons why they should.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying.
But just remember something. The minute you say, let's change this bit over here, then that means that all that bit over there is useless. And if they don't deliver that bit over there, well, that's already useless already. So, like, we'd be extremely focused on, we got everyone to agree. We got the community to agree. We presented that drawing to the community at a public meeting in 2000, I think it was in January 2016.
December 15th.
Oh, sorry, December the 5th, sorry. And everyone went, brilliant, we're all agreed then. We're doing this. The money's agreed, the amount of money is agreed, start the building.
So moving forward.
Go ahead, sorry.
Is there no, if everybody was in agreement, is there no contract signed or no legal, agreement that, okay, we're both,
Sure.
council and yourselves have come to this 3 million position? Normally would there be contracts drawn?
Not with a voluntary community group, no. And
some way of saying you can't go back to
what is into it is we have it in writing. We have what's called a reasonable expectation.
A legitimate expectation.
A legitimate expectation.
Committed in writing is what's going to be delivered. And that's kind of the problem we have now.
The
does that planning permission not go out of date next year, after your 5 years of work? So, 20, which is next year.
Next year.
So you have a year left,
And
well, just about.
By the way, we'll be applying.
And then what happens if nothing started,
We'll be applying for a retention of it, yeah, for a further 5 years. Because we can show it wasn't anything failing on our side, and Kildare would be the deciding body, and if they said no, we would say that's a conflict of interest. So, look, we're not
sure
trying.
that it's going to cost.
No, between, if it's conflict of interest between yourselves.
Look,
If
it was
what angle, what other group or area would you go?
Look, at the end of the day, okay, at the end of the day, they are a body that works on our behalf. We feel very hard done by the fact that we had all this work done, finished, ready to go, and we all should have been off this organisation by now and doing other things. And we're not, because they didn't deliver what they agreed. We didn't make up stuff that they said. We didn't create documents to pretend things happened. What happened happened. But from our perspective, we could have said to you, lads, the new centre starting next week, and it's exactly the one that they sent around the groups on Friday, and aren't we great? And you'd have said, oh, that's great, we have a community centre now. But it's not fit for purpose. It won't sort. Yeah, it won't sort. The problem with it doesn't work the way you start a bit and build a bit. It can't be. Most second phase buildings never happen. But I can assure you it also would, because we've committed to build the second phase. But if it's Kildare delivering the second phase, look what's after happening with this €1 million. What would it be like in 3 years we need 2 million to do the extension, which we haven't got it? And who do you fight for? Sorry. Julie, the cop basketball, I'd say it for you, far away.
A man of three in the town as well, 3 small kids. That this facility, like I was involved with it a few years ago, and I think it's amazing. So I kind of want to reiterate what Anne said. Like, what's the next step? Like, what's the plan going forward? How are we going to get this going? And what can all of us here help, do to help to get this going?
Yeah.
You know, get it built, because the community needs it.
Sure.
We need it ASAP.
The first thing we want is we want re-engagement with Kildare County Council. We've written letters, we've put up public information notices, we've said we want re-engagement. We have literally been ignored. We're not interested in re-engagement. We throw us onto effectively a loaded committee that can't vote against you because at some stage they're beholden to you for something. We don't.
Has there been any engagement from them?
No.
No. No.
Are you getting any support from the councillors?
I have to say something to you. The councillors, with respect to them, agreed at the very, and I mean back in 2011, that they would not interfere in the process because we recognise, and some of them recognise, that one of the reasons Kilcock hadn't moved forward was the political divisions that existed between the different parties, and the different souls that were in different parties meant that nothing. One week that fellow's for the soccer club, the next week is for the GA, the next week is for the running track. We had to be established because we were non-political. So we didn't let the councillors get involved in it because we didn't want, and there's been a few councillors now that put leaves in the door banging on about what a great job the KCN is doing for the community centre. But at the end of the day, in respect and fairness to them,
just to be clear,
they were kept informed.
The council asked councillors to put something forward, but we as a group said we wouldn't on that basis. We weren't asked by KCN.
Oh no, I agree.
Before KCN existed.
Excuse me, would the council just identify themselves, please? For the people who don't know.
Teresa Murray, independent.
From the news. Or McAvoy, independent today.
Hi, I'm Sabrina O'Reilly. I'm 4 kids in many organisations in the town. I run the local parent and toddler group voluntarily, and I'm a volunteer coach with Cocas as well. And I've got kind of a couple of things I want to ask. One is what everyone's asked: who makes the decision about who gets the lease? Second one is, just from social media, because that's where I've heard of all of this stuff, the other steering group seem to be getting all the positive feedback, and I'm just wondering, how do we, like, anyone I talk to wants this, they want the full thing. You know, all the people that I know are like, I couldn't make it tonight. There's about five people who say, I can't make it, but will you put our point across? This is the one we want. So how do we make the Council engage with ye and all of us? Because that's who you represent, the whole community, rather than pushing the other agenda of the steering group, of the other one, the bonders. So how do we twist back? Is there anything we can do? Like one lady suggested an online petition to get the community involved and hear everybody's voice rather than just one group against another. So they're my two first points.
Yeah. Like answer your first question is the least holder and controller is Kildare County Council. They go through their legals and they do it with agreement. Everyone signs it, and now you're the least holder of that piece of land. Okay. So they decide, they control that. That's why I said earlier on that Kildare has a lot of power.
Yeah.
The part of it.
The leaks for KCN, like the community itself was to petition to request a copy or
a group would have to apply for a lease.
Yeah, like we could do it for use, like do like a petition from the community, for the community to petition to their county council to give the lease to KCN so that you could proceed with development as was happening.
Yeah, look, at the heart of what they had agreed with us at the end of 2016, we were set, the community was set, everything was done. They didn't progress it from there. 3 million, as far as we're concerned, is more than sufficient to build phase 1 and even do the fit out. Yeah. Even if it wasn't sufficient to do the fit out, once there was a physical building being built, it meant that we could go to people like Intel and sell the Coder Dojo and put all the screens in. Like, they won't do things with we're gonna. They'll do things with we have.
I think the point is there anything we can do?
Yes, I wanted to get to that in the last piece.
And we are getting an idea here, and let me tell you, anything that anybody wants to do or come on board this committee, you are so much welcome, because it's going to take sheer force of the community to get this done properly.
How do we get that going? I mean, there's 30 people here.
I'm fantastic to hear all this. We've been at this for such a long time, and we've been at it for 20 odd years plus the community council and different groups involved. So we've got to get the best we can get, and this is the best we can get. So whatever we can do to drive it forward, we've got to do it now.
I'm going to give you an answer to that question.
Dave, the audience here want to know what we're going to do. So go ahead and answer.
So we're going to form an action group. Okay? The action group is going to do a number of actions. The first thing we're going to do is inform the other 5,900 or 6,900 people who aren't here. That was part of the reason for that device being stuck in the corner. By the way, that's facing the committee, it's not facing any of you. Go and look, you won't be seeing it. Actually, don't go into it unless the job.
Sorry, can I interrupt you just before you start?
Sure.
Have you any concern that the existing, or the other plan that was currently put forward by the group, that the Mayor County Council has said, well, this is what we're going to handle, that they would just start that?
Yeah, the first thing is they're going to have to get plan permission on top of our plan permission. And we don't intend to take that one line down. The other thing I will say is that if they do anything that we believe that we can challenge legally, we will do so as well. We do have funds. We don't have significant funds. We have a small amount of funds, probably around €8,000. That's enough fun for us to advertise, market, and do whatever we have to do. Look, we're not here to beat Kildare County Council into the ground, but we are damned if they're not going to honour their commitment to the contract. And look, we don't have all the solutions, and maybe some of us are doing this far too long. There are new, fresh minds out there. They get your online petition 100%. And the more you make the noise, the more people you get involved, and we get a few, there's all sorts of things we can do. The point is, if this was the model for what was going to be done moving forward, we're hardly a poster boy for moving forward for other towns and groups that this is what's happened. So I think Kildare have an interest in finding a resolution to it. And yes, I would like the TDs and the councillors and everyone to get involved. But what scares me about it is that one of them makes it a political football because they're getting elected next month or next year. And I'm not referring to anybody who's president in this hall when I say that. I'm just saying in general terms. The reason we got as far as we did was there was no politics, and we didn't have any big fun fairs, and we didn't have any big noise. We quietly worked in the background and delivered what we delivered. At the heart of this is the community isn't arse whether they get that in preference to the half-side little room run by the council and they decide who gets it. So be it. Because we're not elitists that we're going to keep banging our heads off the wall incessantly. We're very glad you're here this evening. We're very glad to hear your comments that you're making. All we'll ask you is tonight, you can do it in multiple ways. You can send us your private messenger to the KCL page, myself and Val, our administrators, and we record your phone number, you know, won't be seen by anybody else, an email, and we will include you in the information list going forward of what's done around the subject matter.
And meet with you.
Oh yeah, we're going to have another public meeting, because the next public meeting is to tell people what our actions are going to be, and garnish even more support. And we didn't send out a big list of papers tonight saying, will you give us your email address and phone number, because people do that and then nothing happens.
Can I just say
sorry, go ahead.
Because in light of the fact, I don't know if there's anybody else here, councillor or TD or anything else, but in light of the fact that Port McAvoy in particular knew exactly how we set out, and it was without any involvement from any political party or anything else. I have to compliment both of you, Seth and Teresa, for appearing here tonight in the face of what we were, and we knew what we were going to be presenting. And Port represents, he's a councillor with Kildare County Council, and he has to go back with this, and we'll go back, I'm quite sure, and let our feelings be known. And that is one conduit. That will start, I would imagine, immediately. So I will thank you if that's what you're going to do for it. I think that will be a big help to us.
In relation to the funding, I know yourself you were saying that Kildare County Council have a reliant on property tax and things like that. But there's also the development contribution scheme. And I know personally, when we built our house, before we even turned to sod, we had to pay Kildare County Council €14,000. Just that's it. We couldn't put a shovel in the ground without paying €14,000. And I have the itemised receipt for that. And $3,500 of our personal money went to build a recreational centre in Clay. So my question, that's on my receipt. It says rec amenities.
Clay needs to be the district. It's not. It never was built in Clay.
Well, it says Clay rec amenities 3,000.
Recreational amenities, yeah, you're right.
I'll just say to you that there was no facility built in Clay, and Clay used to be the area before it became the new area.
Yeah.
We used to be in the Clay area, that's what was going on.
Yeah, the Clay.
That's what's not in here too.
But your point is
My
well made.
point is there a way to find out how much of the common people's money went into that fund, and therefore how much Kildare County Council have put back into her pocket? Does it balance out? Because I don't think it does.
We actually did a presentation to Kildare senior management of this exact issue, where we showed an estimated for a new number of houses, the amount of money, average levy per house, how much money from the sale of the library, which is 1.36 million, which is back in 2006, sale of the monetary site and Musgraves. And that's got nothing to do with rates from the town or anything else. It was just about housing levies, and we came up with a figure of 7.9 million between 2002 and 2013. Now, 750 houses on the Mead side, and we know as yet we're getting no money out of Mead, even though we provide all the amenity service for them. There's 370 houses approximately there. Half of them are started, as far as I know, in Millerstown. 450 houses up by the GAA, and 150 are being started at the moment. 75 houses at the end of Church Street near the graveyard, and 40 houses just complete beside Sean Brown service station. Those roughly 800 buildings within the next 3 years will generate roughly 2.7 million. Just that piece extra to the town. But I just say to you, since 2001 there's been a whole lot of houses built in Kilcock. Or since 2011 there's been houses built, and houses outside the town, individual houses as well. So our biggest argument was this money was collected in Kilcock for years and years and years. It got spent somewhere. It didn't get spent in Kilcock. And when they identified the shortfall and said, gee guys, you're missing your health, you're missing your amenity, we're going to make a special case out of it. Great. We did our part.
But not only has it been identified probably 9 years ago, there wasn't enough facilities in Kilcock. We've also recently lost a facility with the sale of St. Joseph's Hall. So the community we're starting, we've actually got worse in terms of community facilities. We have a lot more houses. It's going to be a much bigger population, particularly young population, over the next couple of years. And like I said, someone said earlier, you drive up to town at night time, you see bunches of lads, predominantly lads, inside the street, walking around town, young kids myself, have, there's what to do in the club, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing. Right? So I think this proper facility provides all of those services. But where the gap between what we have has gone down, and what we need has gone up. Alright? So as time goes on, this gap is getting bigger. Alright? And the only way we get it, and I think this One Oak steering group was set up to divide the community. I think that seems to be what happened, that these certain organisations were taken out and the KCN sidelined. And the only way we get what we need and what we serve is if we stick together. We're one organisation.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And it takes not just us, it takes all of you guys and all of your friends and your families to get involved.
We're going
to discuss that.
We'll notify you if you want. If you are on Facebook, and not everyone is on Facebook, if you are, just private message to the KCM and come straight through us and just say, my name is, my phone number, my email. Please include me in your action group. We will then send you all that at the same time. Sure. Give us, absolutely, we'll take it tonight.
I'm just wondering, my name is and I have a very simple way of thinking, and I kind of grasp what's kind of going on. I'm just kind of wondering if I get it right to the extent of that. So, if you are a community group, you have this idea, you put it forward, and somehow that's been accepted, and you more or less kind of say, right, this is what is happening. Then all these other committees that were kind of set up to kind of steer you away in such a way. I'm just kind of thinking about what's catching me is like the elephant in the room, as in, if that was a dividing point of the vision, how come it wasn't held and kind of go, no, we have that, but that was going in a different direction. And somehow, if that was kind of steered, and then another group and it was kind of steered, and it was kind of steered, it was kind of almost getting further from your directive, what you want. And somehow it's almost like it was slipping and going away and going away. And I get the fact is that you go along with it because obviously ultimately you want what you want and ultimately you're working toward what it is to going to get. Yeah. But I'm still caught with a bit of where divided, and where divided. Because I'm kind of going, well, hold on, what about the elephant in the room? Or somebody says, no, this is dividing here, we're getting further away from where we're getting from. And then more power is being driven away from you, taken away from you. It's have less than an influence and involvement. I'm just wondering, so what's it is like we're further along the track, but it's almost like all this has happened. How do you backtrack that to get to where you were originally?
Well, the money hasn't disappeared.
The money
has been
still
spent.
there.
It's still there.
And, sorry, and I'm going to say this because this is very important. The planning permission is in the name of Kilcock Community Network. It is still there. We can start that process. We as a group, and a forceful group, can make that happen. We have to make it happen.
If you had the 3 million there now, could you just go and start building?
No.
Without
Somebody there at home release.
What's the possibility of county council slowball this whole thing so the planning commission swears?
Oh, of course. But you can apply for an extension, and there are 2 of us anyway at this table that have spent 12 years dealing with planning.
But then it's going to cost twice as much. It's 5 years' time, it's going to be 5 million to spend.
Just to say, I know everyone's trying to identify where the levers are.
I know.
But unless there's a partnership, it won't go anywhere. And you're trying to identify where you have influence, and I understand that. The planning commission might well be in your name, but the land is in their name.
Yes.
They are entitled to apply for another planning. It's not excluded by virtue of the fact that this planning exists. So they have authority in that regard. They also have the funding, with the government's authority for them to collect that funding to spend anywhere. There is a commitment to spend it in Cocas, but they tend not to start anything where there's division.
Or they do not like that.
But they're not engaging.
But they're not engaging.
Where was the division part? Where was the division?
They created the division.
I'm not attributing I'm not attributing the division to you. I'm saying there is division. You're not in agreement with the other oversight group.
But it's not a group party.
We're not in agreement with what the
that's my point.
But in fairness, and we don't think they knew what they were doing. In fairness,
I'm not criticising them. I'm simply saying there's division. There's a missing million at least, and other money probably.
But there's not division in the community.
No, there's two groups, right? There's a council control group if you want to. They're not here. If you want it descriptively, I'd rather not that be written up like that. My point is, there's another group not in the room who aren't articulating a view here tonight. They're at the table in terms of the council's engaging with them. They are there in good faith representing the community. That's their view. I'm not saying otherwise, that's their view.
Well, the fact that this is a public meeting, so they would have come tonight.
I'm simply saying there's another group. My point is there's division. And the way you overcome division is to get people talking. And the people that talk identify where they can work together, but they also identify where there's a problem. And they figure out how to solve the problem. And the one thing both groups have in common is a missing million.
If the news is putting through in the community that this is actually what the community wants, and that we see this as a definite possibility based on all the documents that we have available to view, if they understand that the community is behind this goal, well then surely it is there up to them to represent the community and what we want.
My point is that discussion has to happen, but there's still a missing million.
So how things are being entertained?
we don't have a missing million in fairness.
One option is that you meet with the public representatives as a group set, and they have the option to meet with both groups. Right? That hasn't happened.
In terms of the ISP, where are they on?
This is the legacy of the ISP.
Were they on how they oversee the whole process?
So Fergus,
They can oversee all the progress in terms of the developments related to it.
The ISP only exists for a short period of time, and KCN is the legacy from that.
So they walked away and handed over.
Fergus moved on to new.
And
they don't need no replacement of Fergus. Anyway.
Yeah, no, but it's because it's not their job is to bring people together and to bring people together to bring
Put it this way, if you can go the route of the action committee, that's fine. Okay? It still has to find a way where you're moving on something. You're a plan for a million, or you're moving in the short term with the hope of doing more later. These are the options that are being presented or floated. I'm not being prescriptive, but I'm saying a missed opportunity is a discussion with the politicians. It may come to nothing, but at least you've that force. If you get that united to engaging with the council and the councillors, that's a possibility.
Do you agree?
Sorry?
Do you agree, Parry, that there's a little bit of repair work needs to be done by one or two individuals on the political side?
I don't know what that means.
There was some stuff published in the media that made reference to the group and individuals. One or the other was wholly inappropriate. And
I don't know why.
Actually, I can't re-propagate it. But anyway, you're not aware of it. It's fine.
I think it's important to say here that, you know, this thing about, you know, the groups being separated and this 1 million being an issue. The 1 million is only an issue to anyone who doesn't want this to progress in the manner that it should progress, that suits all of the community, and I think is based on the identified need in this community. Plus, since the Vaughan Oaks group was set up, let me assure you, against the wind, we try not to do everything. But when you know you are two people in a group of 7 or 8, where you know the vote has already been decided before you ever went to a room, you know when you're different, and you know what you don't want to be associated with. We clearly did not want to be associated with downgraded that.
I'm not questioning anyone, and all I'm saying is solving the million is a big part of moving forward.
Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Chair, I ask councillors, how would Kilcock Council engage a second community organisation to make decisions on Flanagan and we've already got one in place for the 7 or 8 years? Can you explain that to me?
I know it was working well.
invited any of the community to
Absolutely.
attend any of their meetings. I was invited to all of these, and I'm not on the committee. I was told about every single meeting. The other group, I never knew about any meeting until I saw something on social media.
So that's
Four organisations will give an effective control of the community, of the proposed community centre. This bottom steering will give all the power to four organisations, not the KCM side. That's where the division came from.
How many representatives of KCM were on the steering committee?
Two, isn't it?
Sorry, one from the KCN and one from the project team. We're only allowed one. We weren't allowed to bring on.
Some of those organisations were already members of the KCM.
I want to be very clear. I'm not attributing cause or blame to anybody.
No, but you're talking about division. Division didn't come from here.
I know that, but I'm acknowledging the division didn't come here, but I'm not attributing it to anybody. I'm not here pointing fingers at anybody. I'm simply saying the overcoming the division, because there is a division, overcoming the million seem to be the two big components to moving it on. And if I or Teresa or any others can help explore that, so we have more sight of things, we'll do it. But we don't have financial powers to reduce a million.
Well, we're careful not giving them the and letting them see where they can get funding. How is that even making sense? Like, I mean, it doesn't mean it has to be built, it doesn't mean anything. But if they give them the lease, they can search for funding. Then the million might actually even be needed if they can get funding somewhere else. So it's really council holding on to their power. So because they don't want to let the community or whoever there so be like people that they like nowadays. The problem is they're not giving them the lease. The biggest problem is the lease. It's not all the other little pitty kind of things that matter. It's getting the lease, and that's what everyone needs to fight for. Because if we get the lease, they can look for funding other places. God knows you might someone to jump on like right. You just don't know. You're just going around in circles if you're talking about this one fight with that, because that's all this town ever does. I mean, I know. I've spent 4 years in the council offices every 6 weeks for 2.5 years. I got my personal opinion. Trying to keep our club alive. I know what it's like in the council. Don't need to tell. But if you're going to start fighting with one another, fighting over stupid things, fight over the lease. You get the lease. Everything else can get sorted.
John is here. John, you had a question. Are you okay? Right. Guys, have you more questions for us? We're delighted you have questions. We'll stay here to your. Sorry.
I'm not sure if I got the wrong impression, but it did come across during the course of your presentation. There are some differences between, say, some of the groups within the community. You mentioned specifically the GAA and the Business Association. And I think it's important that everyone is seeing up the same view sheet. So it needs to be, maybe you should sit down with those others, you know, to really clarify exactly what is expected.
Yeah, we made an attempt the day after we put up our post, where we brought in the PRO, the chair of the business, because they're on the KCN, they're at all our meetings, and we produced documentation again that we had produced at an earlier date and said, look lads, that's where it says 3 million, that's where the instruction for 3 million is given. We're not looking to have a row and a fight with anybody. We'll go and talk to your group, we'll issue a joint statement and we'll say, realise that wires got crossed, blah, 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 blah. We're all united, we're all going together. Unfortunately, that wasn't accepted.
Did you have that meeting with them?
No. They had the meeting themselves where the two...
Were they invited this evening?
Oh, yeah.
This is a public meeting. The Pope could walk in here and he'd be welcome. Maybe not Donald Trump, but...
For fear of investigations, you're not going to walk into this meeting. Not a chance.
But look, the chair of the Business Association still sits at the top of this table. Paddy O'Connor is involved, or was involved with the KCN. He's no longer representing the soccer club. They have a new representative coming, which we will invite on to our next meeting. We're not a town of New York where there's 9 million of us. We meet and see each other all the time. We have no intention of giving up and blowing away all the hard work that was agreed. We still expect Kildare to honour their commitment. They told us 3 million. We didn't ask for 3 million. They told us because they recognised the delay that it caused meant the building didn't start, and in fairness to the county manager, he wanted to fast track it. Our sense of the minute he did that, the anchor approach that was taken by 1 or 2 individuals has been there continued, because people were told to do things that they shouldn't have been told to do. I don't mean legal things, I mean not replying to emails or saying emails went to spam, or saying we couldn't have meetings with people that everybody else is having meetings with because we'd have to go with this other special group. Like, we knew we were being slow-walled, excuse the phrase, we were being slow-walled. And we didn't think it was coming from the county manager because we knew his enthusiasm for what it was trying to achieve. So somebody else decided to revert to an old model which says, divide and conquer. It's been operating in Kilcock for the last 40 years, we've seen it. So we recognise that. It was division and conquer. And we're ignoring it in the same way as we're ignoring a lot of this us and them talk. We don't have an us and them. It's just us.
And just if you were to bullet point the first 3 things that needed to be done, would the least be on the forest agenda?
It will be one of them. It will be one of them.
Can you bullet point
I would rather have that meeting which you haven't had a good consensus conversation with a whole lot of other people as well to say ideas. Why are we going to, when and how fast, and get the long term do objectives. We've done this before.
Yeah.
We do this to deliver this.
Getting into everything, like, step by step points that actually need to be done without going into.
We have a history of delivering what we say we're going to deliver, and we haven't given up on that. But it's not out of big-headedness. We genuinely believe Kildare has the funds to pay the 3 million to build the force park.
And everybody here agrees on it, it's fast.
So whatever goes on internally with their systems to get it, that's their problem.
Well, it is their problem, but to tell you that there's a lot of cutbacks in expenditure for this coming year. Just 1 second.
Agreed, but just to,
well, just
we've heard that every year since 2002, Party, that it's not our year now. It wasn't our year during the boom. It definitely wasn't our year.
All I'm saying to you is, it's quite easy to say it's their problem to get the money. And as someone who has to approve a budget, one of the people who approves a budget, I have full sight of 143 odd million allocated, millions come out of lighting, and lots of other areas to meet statutory obligations. So,
understandable.
It's outside the room, but it's not irrelevant.
That's a very fair point, Padraig, but at the same time, what David's been talking about here is the whole process of engagement, or rather lack of engagement.
We can do the engagement.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but the problem is, absolutely, we should have done the engagement, but we didn't.
No criticism of anybody. I'm just saying referencing the money was not an open check somewhere to be just written.
We didn't promise ourselves 3 million.
No, but 2 million was definitely guaranteed and the other million was questionable, wasn't it?
No, it couldn't be set because they didn't know how much the second the first phase was going to cost. So they couldn't say it was going to be 2.69 million. They had to say, the exact word Helene will read out because I don't want to use the wrong word. The reason it floated up to 3 was it could cost as much as 2.8 for the first phase, or maybe 2.1. So they couldn't just say design one for 2.638 because today that's what we think it costs. They couldn't. So they put in a band that said this is the most it can be. But they gave the instruction to the architect, the director of planning did, or sorry, the director of services did.
But there's also the perspective says we have to, but we have to find another. That's what I heard.
But that's maybe what you heard, Parry. That's not what we were given. And that's just where we were told. Like, say again?
Sorry, just in terms of all of this, okay, we can, kind of cause great confusion around this million. There's always this smoke and dagger thing, and it's great to have something to hide behind. But let's be very clear here. Planning permission was given for this. What happened subsequently with this new redesign was done behind the backs of everybody. We have been at the table from the very start. We know every word that everybody said. We did not receive any design plans for a redesign. We received nothing. We were cut out of this completely. We are the people who sat at the table and got that 2 million that has never been done in this county before. We were the people that got it for the community and for nobody else. And I'd be damned if we're not going to get this. We are not going to have anybody go behind their backs and turn turf and build something differently.